Hello and welcome to Wonder Tilt, the podcast where fascinating topics of the day are weighed with opinion, knowledge, and humor, causing the seesaw of life to lean in whatever direction it chooses to rest. I am Cloud, and with me today is Dave
Hello.
and Russ.
Hi.
Hey, so guys, today we actually had an issue with the daylight savings thing,
Right.
where like starting times and stuff. Like, what do you guys think about it?
Well,
Like Alberta changes their times all like
eh,
twice a year, right? So back and forth.
Dave, you never used to live. You moved from. Okay, wait. Where are you from first? Because I know you've been in Saskatchewan most of your life. No.
Probably at this point, yeah, pretty close. Well, I mean, I was born in Toronto, but I actually grew up in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, but both
Oh,
places
okay.
that deal with the daylight savings time. It's only actually Saskatchewan where I am now that we just don't even acknowledge it, or we just kind of are just like it's too much work, or I guess it's not as much difference in the daylight. I don't know why. I'm cool with it. I didn't really ask. They have me at we just don't care. So
Yeah. Is it just because Saskatchewan is like behind the times and they just don't have the technology to call everybody?
it could be.
I
Well,
live in
see, we can
Saskatchewan.
just see like miles down, so we can just hold up signs and get binoculars.
right.
and-
It's 8 o'clock.
Just a flare.
yeah, just let them know the time it's going to be. Yeah, no, I don't know. It might have something to do with the planes and the daylight or something like that. I have no idea. But that's all it is, right? It's a choice we made at one point to save daylight hours.
I'm not
You know,
down for
That's
it.
right. But it was for farming, wasn't it? Though it was for farming.
Is that actually what
Like,
it was for?
Actually,
Yeah,
I
it
think
could
that's
be.
what it was for, from what I heard. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
So
It's-
now that farmers just don't care, they just wake up whenever the sun rises.
Yeah. Like, why are we doing it for the farmers if we're still suffering and they don't even care anymore? I mean, I am personally not for daylight savings time anymore. I used to think,
Yeah.
I was
too.
born in Alberta, raised in Alberta, and I used to always be like, man, Saskatchewan is so weird. They don't change. But everyone else, we're falling back or we're springing ahead. And I will say this.
Yeah.
I am now a parent, and my children do not know about daylight savings time. And I am not in favor because my children, both of them today, woke up at 4 a.m. new time because their bodies were like, you know what, let's wake up at 5. But instead, the entire world except
Sounds
Saskatchewan's like, we're now going to fall back an hour. So I'm a little dying right now, and I think it's stupid. And I just found out that we shot down a vote maybe a month or two ago to abolish daylight savings time in Alberta. Did you know that?
Really?
We
Oh,
actually...
It's just everybody agreed that this was a good
It
idea.
was like 30
Progress.
to 7.
See, we're
They
making
voted
steps.
down. Seriously. They voted it down. It was like 30 to 7. People are like, we're not doing this. And it's because of sports teams. They want to be broadcast at good hours. Apparently, they say, screw you to Saskatchewan. And a few different companies like WestJet are like, we don't want to schedule our planes differently in Alberta. Again, screw you, Saskatchewan. So, I don't know, man.
Oh wow,
Yeah, that's just what I found out. They really don't.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so I mean, I'm not in favor of daylight savings time. I know some people look forward to the extra hour of sleep, but I don't feel that anymore. I feel pain.
Yeah, but then it changes back the other way though. So it's just they lose the sleep for an hour.
It's manipulative, and apparently there are, and I want to read up more on it, but apparently I was scrolling through an article where it's actually causing health problems now, trying to get your body to adjust even by an hour, like forcing
Yeah.
it to wake up an hour earlier or later and go to bed an hour earlier or later on a whim. So I'm not in favor, and I lived in Saskatchewan last year, and I kind of missed the fact that they just don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally forgot. I didn't even realize we were going to start recording, and I was ready to go an hour early, and wondering where these guys were, and realized that I'm in Saskatchewan, untouched by time and space.
I
Nice.
don't know,
Yeah.
man.
It's just the void in Canada.
That's cool. I mean, that sounds about right.
How is Yellowknife though compared to Saskatchewan?
I mean, different. The biggest, obviously,
Colder.
yeah, obviously. Although not much, I can say. It is, and it's colder for longer, probably, and steadier. But when we're talking about like the coldest day of the years, I'd wager that they haven't been
They're
that
the same.
different, but I could be completely wrong and
Yeah.
making a retraction
gets so
next
cold.
week. So, but the main difference, the train's different. You know, obviously down in the plains, there's nothing but fields. But even if you get to northern Saskatchewan, it's actually a lot closer because we're actually getting a lot closer physically. But you know, the rocks, alpine trees. The biggest difference is actually the daylight changes so much from one time of the year to the other. You know, where in the wintertime the sun hardly comes up at all. Like it doesn't come up until about like 10 or 11 and then goes down at around 2 or 3. Yeah, yeah. As a kid, we would like go to school in the morning. We'd walk to school at 8 and it would be like pitch black out. And then you'd like go out for recess at lunch and it'd be daylight. And then by the time school was over, it would be like already getting dark again. That's just how we live.
Imagine if they like applied daylight savings time to that. And it was just like 3-hour change.
Yeah, I mean, society would just totally,
every year.
We would just work all summer
Collapse.
long and sleep throughout the winter. I would be okay. So yeah, the opposite.
Everyone's sleep deprived.
The opposite then happens in the wintertime or in the summertime where the sun is up almost 24 hours. Like the darkest it gets is like just when the sun kind of goes down over the horizon and you have dusk where it's like you can't see the sun, but you can still see the light from it. And it stays like that until it comes back up the other side. No. And yeah, that was really tough on my parents when we were growing up because we like, you know, I think I was 5, my brother was 4 when we moved there. So
you don't know.
She'd be like trying to get us to go to bed, and it looks like it's only like 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, different place.
I couldn't do it, man. I mean, with my kids too. No.
For us, we just grew up with it, right? So it's just like that's just what winter's like, and it's just
it's life.
Yeah, but.
Are there any major different? Like, here's just something that I thought of because I saw a meme. I love memes, apparently, but they call Alberta the drunk uncle of Canada. I don't know if you guys have heard that. I don't know if it sounds like to me they said it was the loud drunk uncle of Canada or something like that, because they kind of call us like the Canadian version of Texas, just because of all the.
But rich.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
sure.
That's what I was gonna say.
The loud, drunk, rich uncle.
Yeah, rich, loud, drunk uncle is what we are.
He can get away with it.
I've noticed this though, because when I lived in Saskatchewan, but there is definitely, maybe it's just me, but I felt a little bit like there is a cultural difference between provinces, Saskatchewan and Alberta, and I can't totally put my finger on it. I do feel like there's a less corporate feel to Saskatchewan, and I know that some businessmen in Saskatchewan are going to punch me. I'm not talking that kind of corporate atmosphere. It feels a little bit more homey. I'm trying to even find the right word for Saskatchewan. It just doesn't feel as busy, even in Regina.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a little bit more time in Saskatoon these last couple of years. My brother's been living there. And it definitely feels like a couple notches up in terms of like what you would imagine in a big bustling city. And I guess it's the exception. That's probably the biggest. It's probably the biggest city in Saskatchewan, I would imagine. Yeah, I don't know. It's different. The differences between the provinces are probably pretty finite, especially in like the Midwest, you know, our kind of row. Like sure, somebody from out east and then somebody from BC, they're going to seem like night and day. But yeah, I couldn't really put too fine of a point on it either in terms of what. I mean, I don't know what shapes a province's culture, you know.
Well, I mean, Claudio, you grew up in Medicine Hat. I did too, but you're still there. When you come to I never leave Medicine Hat.
Have not moved.
But when you visit like me in Calgary, and you've obviously been to Regina just a few times, maybe not long enough to observe, but like, do you feel at all like Medicine Hat's kind of not stuck, but like, has it changed at all? Has it evolved? Is it evolving? Or are you like, oh, this is kind of like, it's a small city of about 66,000 people, whereas I live in a 1.2 million place, and Dave lives in, I think, 225,000. So we kind of have.
So I'm the lowest on.
We kind well.
You can't tell, but
not such words.
We're talking down to you.
That's right.
Small city boy. But we have different populations.
The thing is that like for me, I don't know, like this is still Hicktown. Like we still have like a Ralph's Bar and Grill that everybody thinks is like the greatest place to go, and I don't go to the bar, so I don't know, but there's a lot of country music, and I don't like country music
Guys,
at all.
I might have to.
I hate it.
Might have to stop you. I don't think this might not have been set up to my my mic here. Hold on a second.
And break.
His quick intermission, all of a sudden, like the music comes on, like elevator music.
Okay. There we go. All right.
Grab your snacks.
And check. Cool. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, that's fine.
That
Claudio.
was just a test run.
So,
Test run.
okay.
Do you want to start over or do we just keep going?
No, that's fine.
Let's keep going.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So, like, yeah. So it does feel very hick over here. But the thing is that I don't interact with people enough that I feel it. Like, okay, here's an example. I went to the bank this week, and I had to get some stuff like money transferred from one bank to my bank and whatever, right? And I was talking to the representative, and I was telling her about like my endeavors, about like how I want to do like my own business ventures, so like entrepreneurial kind of stuff. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur because I haven't made any money yet. So
Fair point.
So I'm telling her like this stuff where like I want to do art, I want to do commission art where people pay me to paint paint digital stuff for them in my style, right? But I don't have a style, and so I'm still working on the training part of it and just doing stuff. I finished the work for a guy for this picture or whatever, but it was more of a graphic design than it was my own style. It was more so he told me what he wanted and then I designed it for him. So that's more the business stuff that you have to do at the beginning, right? And so I was talking to a representative, and she's like, so like, are you really looking for like in town kind of clientele? And I'm like, no.
Oh yeah.
No way in this town did I ever think I would get business.
No.
Here. Everything I'm thinking of is going to be going online.
Yes.
Because I know that in this town there's no need for that, because the thing is that she even said, she's like, the people here are very old.
Oh.
No offense to old people.
Self-awareness.
And then I said, and then oh, she wasn't that old. She's like maybe in her 40s. Like she had.
But she knew that it was like a predominantly old place.
Exactly. Yeah. Like she has, her kids are like 25, 26 or whatever. The same age as me. 27, by the way, if anybody wants to know.
Ooh.
For you, just spam the comment section with how old I am.
All hundreds of you.
Yeah, that's right, because everybody wants to know who
Yes.
I am. And so she said it was very old, and I'm like, yeah. And the thing is that the young people that we do have, they're not spending their money on stuff like that. It's mostly they're going out to the bars and stuff like that. Once again, Ralph's and stuff, and they're spending money on that, and then they wonder at the end of the month why they don't have any cash, right? And so I don't like complainers, because I see a situation where like you're hit by life and it punches you in the face and you have to get back up and deal with it. It's every situation is neutral. It's how you handle the situation that makes it what it is, makes it bad or good. It's how you handle it, because life happens and you have to deal with it. And there's certain measures you can take to prevent certain things from happening, but inevitably one day you're going to get smacked in the face. This wall's going to hit you and you have to do something about it. Whether you go right through it, whether you stop and turn around, you can also do that. That's a thing you can do. But you can also go through it. And whether you go through it in the worst way possible or the most positive way possible. And so I don't know, like it gets on my nerves when people complain about stuff. And if you're complaining about something, you need to change it. So I don't know. That's what I think. But anyways, yeah, Medicine Hat is pretty hick. I never counted on it being like a town that's in the times.
Wait. So slow down.
I think
though.
it's behind.
Like, are you saying though that
What?
you feel like the culture and community you're in Medicine Hat, that predominantly the young people like you are what you're explaining? Like, there a lot of people that you've interacted with in Medicine Hat are, oh, there's nothing to do here except go to the bar, and I'm always broke.
Yeah,
Oh,
most of them.
okay. Well,
But the thing is that's the fault of the city too, because all there is here is like tons of bars and clubs, and you have nothing else to do. Whereas in the bigger city, you have other stuff
that's
to do.
true. It's true. Very true.
Whereas here, it being a smaller town, there aren't very many businesses. Like, I don't know, like what do people do? Like, what do you have? You have the mall, which is like one mall,
Terrible.
or you got to go to Walmart,
Yes.
Yeah,
and
there could be different.
and then yeah,
Yeah, I mean, art centers and stuff, right? Would be, or like performing arts places for concerts.
But the thing is, with the art center, the city paid so much just to have that thing built
Yes.
that they're charging an obscene amount of money just to have people come in, and no one wants to go in because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And so you can't access the art community.
It's called.
It has a great art community and music community, but it's all underground,
Huh.
Yeah.
and no one knows about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's tons of people here that I've met that are super talented and that do a lot of stuff. But the thing is that because there's tons of young people or old people, whatever it is, just see it as going to bars and they don't do anything else. Those scenes, like the music scene and the art scene and all that, it doesn't come out. And the city prevents it from coming out too by making venues so expensive. It's even expensive to rent a place.
Yeesh.
And then they built a giant stadium that they didn't need. And they charge obscene amounts of money for all that stuff over there because they're trying to pay for the costs of it when we really didn't need it.
Which
Well, I don't
stadium?
know. I don't know anything about that coming from Regina here. So we.
Well, what's the scene like in Regina? though?
We need all our stadiums that we just got.
It's true. True that. I mean, with us, I think the thing, though, is especially with our age group, I mean, Dave's 45, but the rest of us are pretty, I'm kidding. We
Sounds
little
like
dig at Dave. No, just kidding. But in Calgary, I think it's pretty much anywhere, but I think you have to work harder for it in smaller cities or smaller places. Like Paula and I, when we moved to Regina, we moved there last August, and we lived there for about 8 months before we moved back to Calgary. Not because we hated Regina. I had an opportunity. Just to clarify to everybody, I had an opportunity to come back. Oh, and Dave's left us, by the way. So just
Dave,
you know,
come
Dave got
No.
offended that I'm making fun of Regina. But
That's right.
seriously, he's just like,
He
I'm
rage
out.
quit.
I hate this. I hate self-awareness. But when I moved to Regina, I noticed that it was almost impossible as an outsider with kids to get into any culture or any environment without, like, you would have to devote yourself to a niche in Regina for months before you actually got a rhythm of the underground culture. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it was very hard. You couldn't just jump in. Whereas I feel like with Calgary, to your point, there's a lot more available, and it's just like, come all. We have almost too much room for people to just join.
I think the people are more open. Like when you get to not an older place, but like a place that thinks like in the past. There's not where they're like a little bit behind in the progress, like Medicine Hat, where they're not as open minded.
Yes.
And so what ends up happening is there's a lot of cliques. It's kind of like high school.
Yes.
And so it's hard to get in. You have to devote your time to try and get in. Whereas in a bigger place, the people are more open to having new people.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas in the in the other places, the hicker towns, they're more closed off. They're more defensive on stuff. They're like they don't trust people as much. But the thing is, sometimes it can get dangerous if you trust people, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. It's kind of like a balancing act where do you allow tons of people in because then you get all the creative people, everybody's allowed, you get it's like a big pot, right? Like the big multicultural pot, right? And you mix everything in and you get the most creative stuff coming out, but at the same time you get all the bad stuff too. You get the good stuff and the bad stuff. Whereas in the other case, you're filtering it. You have a pretty dense filter.
Yeah.
That only a few select people are allowed in, and only the ones that work super hard for it get in.
Yep.
And you're guaranteed to get the good stuff, but you don't get bad stuff. And the thing is that with bad stuff, sometimes there's a lot of beauty in bad stuff.
Well, and desire to change too. I think
right.
regarding Calgary, we don't know better. Like we just there's no atmosphere or aspect of we're picky. I think it's like we're used to anyone and everyone getting a fair shot, and if we like it or don't like it, you'll probably find another minority or group somewhere else that enjoys the art or the music that you put out. I think that but personally though, it could even feel like that in a big city if you're not careful of it being very cliquey. I think it's a very deliberate culture that has been cultivated in Calgary where it's like, come one, come all. I think in smaller communities, it kind of hits the point where, like you said, if you want the great underground scene, because I used to be a part of the underground music scene a little bit in Medicine Hat, because just so everyone knows, Claudio and I kind of grew up around the same time in Medicine Hat together. And I went to these obscure, in the middle of nowhere, sets, and only 30 people or 20 people would be there, but they were the most hardcore fans I've ever seen, right? Whereas,
and it's because you were a great drummer, right? You were in high demand by people who have heard you, right?
It is true. It was a lot of fun in that atmosphere, but I mean, even so, we were all kind of like this small group that chased other bands. Like, you only went if you really wanted to go. It wasn't because it was sexy. It wasn't because it made money. You went because you wanted to. And the crowd there, I would dare say, was almost as electrifying, if not more, than like going to McEwen Hall here in Calgary and watching a big professional band play a set for like an hour and a half. Like, because anyone can go to those.
Right, and then they're done, and then the whole thing's
That's
over.
right. Anyone can go to those, and you still have like your casual fans, but like in Medicine Hat, it was either you're hardcore and you had to get an invite or you had to make it there, or you have no idea that this culture even exists. So I don't know. I think I agree with you where it's even just kind of pointing out with the people, the young people in Medicine Hat, give them something to do, or kind of instill in your culture, hey, shoot for this. Or let's give you a bunch of different mediums that you can do anything you want and we'll support you. We might not agree with it, but we'll support your medium, whether it be art, music, video, whatever. But I think in Medicine Hat, I think it's kind of what we talked about last time, Cloud, which is hilarious. But it's the whole, if it's not broken, why try to fix it? Like movie franchises. Yeah. If Medicine Hat is an old boy town where cowboys are king and the bar scene is making money, why would you want to change that culture if you're making money? Or why would you want to change it if it's working? Right?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, but like who would? Yeah, like who would be making the money though? Like, because the city's not using.
It's getting older.
The money wisely.
No, it's getting older. It's not. It's losing the young people, and a lot more. You know, you'll even find it like even the middle-aged people that I know that are still living in Medicine Hat, they're recognizing that like the bread and butter of the economy of small cities is the young people that you keep, right?
That's right, and they're not.
They're not. They're essentially
because they can't.
Well, I remember growing up there where it was like get a part-time job, enjoy your high school in Medicine Hat, and then graduate and go to the big city to get an education because there's nothing in Medicine Hat.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what everybody does. Like you listen to the younger people, like kids in high school. They're like, "Oh man, I can't wait till I can graduate because then I'm leaving this city." Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Every story I heard, it's like, yeah, no, I'm heading to Calgary. I'm heading to Edmonton. I'm heading to BC. I'm heading to.
Is the same thing? Just same thing in Regina. Nobody, at least when I was in school, however many years ago, nobody was planning on staying here. You know. Yeah, I mean, I mean, the big cities are where it's at, especially if you're into one of these, like an arts or media type thing, or well, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do we go into autopilot though too much? Like, especially us young people. What I mean by that is, you hear the go to, a lot of people talk about, well, back in my day, or we did this and we pioneered this, and they've gotten comfy now and they're now enjoying their retirement, or they're enjoying the season that they worked into. I kind of feel like you have one or the other in terms of young people, and maybe we're diving too much into now a whole millennial or whatever discussion, or Generation X or Y. But I've noticed two types of young people. The ones that kind of go with the flow and either get out of town as soon as they can because there's nothing here, or they kind of float and coast. Or you've got the dreamers and the people that aren't happy or aren't satisfied with just doing or just being. They want to do more. But I do feel some cities cultivate that hunger more than others. And I don't know what it is. I was telling Cloud, Dave, that Calgary is just kind of I don't even think we have a choice. It's just become a culture where it's like, if you have a talent in any area, you'll probably find a niche anywhere in our city. And I think that some cities or some environments, they don't cultivate that area of hunger, Medicine Hat being one of them, especially because I grew up there, Cloud grew up there. I mean, even in Yellowknife, when did you move from Yellowknife?
Oh, 2001, 2002. Like I was just going into grade 10.
Jeez, man. Holy crap.
Just a young whippersnapper.
Just a young little boy.
It's all part of the backstory, origin story.
Of Super Dave.
Origin story.
Yeah, that's how I got my powers.
The OC, the original character.
Yeah. Teen depression.
I think you got to fight for it. I think as a young person, you got to fight for the desire. Because I have friends in Regina who know of a killer coffee scene and they love it. Like they know every roaster in Regina, and that's like a weird niche, but apparently like it's catching fire. And like I would never have known that had they not introduced me to the coffee. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we met so and so. He opened up a coffee shop and it's just exploding. And I'm like, I've never heard of this place. I just go to Tim Hortons. You know.
That's right.
You know,
like all the other old people.
Exactly, though.
You're old, Russ.
Well, seriously, it's just like I didn't know better, and I went to the commercial area.
You got to get into the underground coffee scene.
I want a good coffee right now. That's how I feel right now. But
well, that's something that sucks is that, like, I don't know. I feel like for everything, if you pick any one kind of like fixation or fascination, you can follow it down to the point where like you find the best stuff that's like super obscure and like nobody talks about it or knows about it. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's something you're really passionate about, it's worth it. And you want to know, the best of the best. But if you're just kind of like, maybe you're not super into coffee, you're just like, it's a chemical I need to continue my day.
Yes.
You wouldn't necessarily want to go, buy some from a Colombian guy in a back alley or whatever awesome hipster shop he's got going on. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's weird to think about that there's always something like that, like there's probably some really sick spoken word poetry bar or cafe here in town that
with snapping.
They're snapping right now, and I would never know. I would never hear the snaps, and how many other exclusive VIP only clubs are going on with awesome stuff we can't get into. But
yeah, exactly.
Eventually. I would say this. I would say especially just being with Wonder Tilt and who we are. Because first off, everybody, you need to know that what I get to do, I'm so happy about it, is I get to hang out with two very different but motivated guys who are pursuing their passions in their own way. And that takes effort. And it also takes a deliberate choice. And like Super Dave and Cloud are both artists. They like media for different reasons. But I think personally, here's the deal, and I'll kind of try to summarize it with this. I think we live in a society where, I think this is anywhere, but I think we live in a society where if you are not encouraged to be hungry, you can miss it. You can miss the boat on some really cool things in your community or in your area. Heck, even in your life, I think that if you're not encouraged to be hungry, and just go back to the coffee example, I think just because that's what we're harping on right now. But if I don't know any better and I'm just looking for something to serve a need, and I'm not interested in diving and digging out the gems in my city or the gems in my community, I can go to Tim Hortons. But if I'm willing to take a breath and kind of ask myself, what do I really want? Do I want to enrich my experience? Do I want to look somewhere? To give an example, we found a very cool area because of my friends called The Drip. I don't know if you've ever been there, Super Dave. It's called The Drip.
No.
I think I've got the name right. It's in Regina. It's across from Value Village. To everyone who now is listening to this podcast, go to there. I swear I thought it was called The Drip, something like that. But it's actually a phenomenal coffee place, a very enriching experience, and I would never have found it had I not had, thankfully, a good circle of friends. But I think you can't complain. I think is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying, Cloud, you're complaining either. I think you made a really good observation about Medicine Hat. And you're like, no, there's a great underground society over here that you can be a part of. But I think you're hungry and you'll find those hidden gems, or you'll get dissatisfied and move to a bigger city where the gems are easier to find. I would say that about Calgary. Maybe the gems are easier to find. But I don't know. I just don't.
The thing is, like, I'm not coming from a place of I want to be part of those
I
gems.
agree. Yes. No. Sorry, go for it. But yeah.
No, it's like I don't like people complaining that when they're in a city and they just live on the surface of it.
Exactly.
And they complain.
Exactly.
I want you to go find the most obscure whatever. Don't go into a dangerous place. I'm just saying, find these people that are really interesting, because there are interesting people everywhere, all over the place.
Everywhere. Yeah.
And find those people and see where it takes you, because you need to explore. Because like me, myself, I'm not a big traveler. I never found the need to go to other countries and stuff like that, because to me, it's a really depressing way to view the world. But to me, it's just dirt and plants and rocks, just organized in a different way.
Plants, minerals, and animals.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like a big like landscape. That's all it is. And it's just the art. It makes it what it is, right? And so I don't know, like, that's what it is for me. And so I'd rather find the beauty in where you are right now, because at that moment, that's all you have. And so look into what you have at the very moment and go explore that, because it's going to take you a while to go travel. Right? And so, but keep saving up that money and keep going, because if you want to go travel and that's what you want to do, go do that. Go realize your dream, go travel, go learn about people, other cultures, because they're great. And I don't know, but like, find the culture that's right around you. I don't know, like, am I super wrong?
No, that's a good point. What? It's a better way of looking at it, is that, like, you know, that there is essentially an endless amount of possible, you know, like art or music or whatever, you know, whatever your thing is, food, restaurants, you know, people are always coming up with new things, and they sink or float depending on, you know, how the businesses do. And yeah, I guess it's a good point. If there's something you're passionate about, you know, seek this stuff out. And it's kind of sort of like the movies we were talking about, where it's sort of like there's all kinds of stuff that falls through the cracks because the people that know about it don't think or don't care to advertise or tell people, or whatever, you know. So do it. If you find something cool nobody knows about, tell them, and spread the love.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
And if anyone here in the comments, obviously you can click on our link to find our various different media outlets, but give us suggestions. I mean, if you're in Regina or if you're in Saskatoon or anywhere in Saskatchewan and you know of a really cool place to go, or, I mean, Dave loves poutine. He can't handle it as much anymore, but he loves it. So, you know.
Yeah.
Just puts him in the hospital.
Well, there's a story behind a bunch of food that Dave has eaten. But if you like, I would say this, let us know what you guys think. Where are some hidden gems that you would never have found? Like, for example, I don't know why I'm camping on poutine. Now I'm really hungry. There is a beautiful, amazing poutine place. We live in Calgary near the mountains. We live near Banff in Canmore. And apparently in Canmore, it's a French name. And it's a beautiful poutine restaurant. They're only open on the most obscure days because they're family owned, of course. But they do the most amazing customized poutines, like custom.
Nice.
Yeah, and you would never figure that out unless someone from a friend told you about them. And that's the only reason I know. So I think what can be grabbed from this all is life is what you make it. Excuses are for those that let other people make decisions for them, or you're just not willing to put in the effort. But that's what we're all doing. That's why we're doing this podcast, is we're going to do some effort. I mean, Claudio, he's the one that, puts this all together, patches it all together and posts it. Dave and I do some media stuff. I mean, Dave and Cloud both contributed to the artwork. We're making an effort, even if it's in a small area of a podcast together. I would say is a reflection of who we all are in terms of the other areas in our life that we're pursuing, is we're actually making a conscious effort. And I think that can make all the difference of hating Medicine Hat or getting from it what you want. And I don't think, Cloud, you're upset with Medicine Hat. I think you're just making an observation and
So upset.
Yeah, you're pissed off. I can hear it in your such emotion arises from your voice every time you utter.
That's right. The passion.
I mean, and Dave's already moving from Regina. He hates this podcast, how this episode has highlighted the inadequacies of his city. He's
taking it on the
he's
road.
going back to Yellowknife.
Well, people know where I live now. They'll zero in and they'll
right.
flock to my
They'll
house.
hunt him down.
And yeah, I can't handle it. So back
Bye, everyone.
off the grid.
That's right. He's moving into a bunker.
In the Regina farm somewhere.
I thought about getting a Winnebago, being a Winnebago guy.
Oh, Dave.
Wouldn't that be a great Winnebago
nice.
guy?
Oh, do it, Dave.
What a great Winnipeg.
You'd be a great Winnebago guy.
Yeah.
Just put that in your caption somewhere. I'm Dave. I'm a great Winnebago guy.
Yeah. I'm about to be.
I would make a really, because he's not a Winnipeg.
No, yeah, not yet. I need some work. I need
This is
some
his
training,
dream.
but I could get there someday.
I think you could. I think you could pull off the Winnebago.
He aspires to
That is
be.
an attainable goal.
Being a paid artist? No, but I could own a Winnebago. I could be a Winnebago guy.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot for the stars, guys. Thank
Nice.
you guys for hanging out with us for another Wonder Tilt podcast. Coming up in the next few weeks, we are going to be talking about some different things besides how much we hate our hometowns and the youngins nowadays. But we're going to be talking about, coming up again with another movie episode in a few weeks about book to film adaptations. We're also going to discuss, and it'll probably be after this kind of moment in time because it's coming up here in a few weeks. But when is it too early to decorate for Christmas, and when is too late? And a few other episodes that I think you guys would really like. So stick around. Links in the comments of all of our media outlets. I'm Russ, Cloud, and Super Dave.
See ya.
Bye.